There we go. There we go. Now it's recording. So we have the feed tonight, which, like I just said, is the Airbrush Down Dirty Tricks Snowman feed. So we're going to get this thing going. Let's see who we got in the house. We got Alan Harrison over on Facebook. How you doing, man? Thank you for popping in from Arizona. We got some people from down under, from Aussie here. Thank you guys for popping in. Really appreciate it. We got Steve. We got Mike Manning, Michael Cohen, Gary Shees, Atomic. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for popping in on this Thursday evening. We're in December. Like I said, we're in the first snow of the year, so it is time to do a snowman. So I came up with a sketch, which I'm going to use to do this tonight. And, you know, it'll be a mix of paper cut and freehand and some stuff like that. No plot work on this. We're going to do this traditional masking paper. You know, I like using vinyl transfer tape, standard vinyl transfer tape, nothing crazy. Hey, Scott Jones, how's it going? Michael, what's going on? So yeah, just regular vinyl transfer tape. I use the Conform series from R Tape, but any paper type will do. So that'll be really, really good. So we're going to be doing this guy. I had the thought earlier today and looked at a few things, and I sketched this up while eating dinner about an hour and a half ago. And so let me show you how I sketched it up, and I will start getting this thing ready over here. So I'm going to bring my iPad here up on screen to show you that. And we're going to play the process. I'll try to play the process right now. So just, you know, basic sketch, just, you know, noodling around, nothing crazy. I'm using Procreate for this, but any drawing program, piece of paper will do. And, you know, single layer, just quick gestural sketch. I kind of resize it and as I go because I started big. That's nice about digital. You can just keep sizing things around and moving it. Okay, bump the hand up a little bit. Then I go in and I kind of refine it with a black outline. And I got the corncob pipe, working on the hat. Just really quick, simple. I'm going to do all the work on the canvas itself and adjust things as I go. So this is just a fun, quick sketch. Turn it into a painting, see what happens. And, you know, that's about it. Nothing crazy. And this will just loop back on. So that's what we did there. And came up with that nice little sketch. And, yeah. So, pretty good overall. Let's get back out here. Let's go out. So we'll get going. So I got my panel here. This is not a big panel tonight. It is a 9x12. It's a little smaller than usual, but I can get a nice size painting done like this. It's a black panel, aluminum panel. These are the polymetal panel, so it's got the plastic core and aluminum on both sides. These come in black, and then I scuffed it down and put the transfer tape over it. And then I have my paper here. Let me go out to my full 3/4 cam. My paper, I just used soft B. I used a 4-6B pencil on the back side. That'll create a nice transfer. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and I've done this a bunch of times, this is the easiest way to make transfer paper, but you can also use something like Sorel or something like that. And we can kind of go from there. This one keeps, I kind of have it, you know what? It's kind of taped funny, and it keeps kind of bunching up. So we're going to lose this tape. And I'm just going to stick it down. We'll stick it down like this and go from there. Alan, thanks. Appreciate that. Facebook Pete looks good. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is the first time we're getting both feeds at once. It's been weeks, so cheers. All right. So basic transfer. I use a pen. I usually just check it to make sure. Yep. So if you look, it's transferring through. I'm going to switch to a top-down. So see how you can see it transfer through nicely. I'm just going to go to town. I'm not going crazy. This is the time I can adjust and change stuff. A lot of times I use a red pen so I can see like where I've gone a little bit easier than using a blue. through. Yeah, see, now you can see it's transferred good enough to work from. So we got the coal. We're gonna make this coal in the eye. We got the corncob pipe. No button nose. We did the corn nose. Okay, just keep checking to make sure I got everything I want. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use like white and some blue overlays. And if you remember the Jack Skellington piece I did last year, I had that kind of nice blue and purple kind of side lighting, kind of like you see in Nightmare Before Christmas. I want to try to kind of get that feeling out of this painting. And see from there. Yeah, Mike, this is how this is really the way I started it initially, and I learned. And it's still just a tried true way to do it. I do a lot of motorcycles like this. Obviously, I use a plotter for a lot of things, and that's usually when it's a more technically demanding piece, or I'm going to be doing a bunch of overlays back and forth, or if I got to get something like really precision, like it's a client, like a commercial client that has a demand for it to look exactly like I did it, or exactly like the reference sketch. So then I'll use the plotter. Or if it's something I got to do twice, like both sides of a bike, I use the plotter. So there's times I use it, times I don't. That's why I always tell people, make sure you know multiple ways to attack a problem. That's the benefit of knowing how to use a plotter. You don't have to. But it's nice to know how to use it, so when you need it, you got it. And if you don't need it, you can just do it by hand. But when you do need it, you don't know how to use it, you end up like a lot of other artists, friends of mine, who call me up and ask me if I can vector stuff for them, because they don't know how to do it. Some of the guys have plotters, they don't know how to do it, and I get that. I really got to get the kind of plotter vectoring courses up for you guys. I'm going to do it on Zoom, and I'll get them up on my website and some dates, and basically you'll buy a link to come in and do it. And I think I'm going to start doing the first couple for members. Here we'll get a special rate, or I'm going to do another tier for members who want to do that specific stuff. Mr. Leahy, Gerald Mendez, what's going on? Happy holidays. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And I know Steve had a great wedding, from what I hear. Congratulations, Steve. If I remember right, I think that makes all your kids are now married, right? So you're done. I'm kind of making the fingers look like tree branches, so like knots for knuckles, and we'll put like a wood grain in, so basically like they were made out of sticks. What do you mean Adobe changes too often? Adobe controls have been the same controls for everything I do since Illustrator 8. They add more stuff and they update with newer stuff, but the core stuff never changes. And most of those changes involve printing stuff and design stuff, but vectoring and doing that, it doesn't change. Mr. Barker, what's happening? So I think we're good. We got enough there. Now, if you want to refine more, this is when you can either take a pen or, you guys can see it better if I do a Sharpie. So if you want to see it better, or if you want to change stuff, you can go through the Sharpie and just draw out things. Oh, I said draw. Everyone comments on how we say draw up here. because I'm drawing. Sounds like I'm opening a drawer. Just refine. I want to add some bigger breaks to the hat. We'll make it a little bit worn off. And if you wanted just freehand it, you could have transferred this directly onto the metal like I've done before. Like a lot of this detail I'm not even going to cut. I'm just putting it in. Like I'll probably just do this skull as a silhouette and I'll freehand the eyes. Bob Keeling, what's going on? Yeah, just keep it simple. Draw it out. You know, all these little like shapes, that's just, I'm going to make it look kind of snowy, but I'm not going to actually cut those. These highlights are not going to cut. I'm just putting them there as markers. And we'll get the pipe. Like, I'm just going to do the silhouette of the pipe. And go from there. I want to thank everyone for popping in. I want to thank all my down and dirty tricksters. Thank you guys for being supportive and keeping the support going. It means a lot. Helps me out. Keeps this channel rocking. So thank you very much. And if you're not a member, you can click in that link. You get 25% off all my digital downloads. And last week we had the big 40% off of members, so keep an eye out for those when we do those specials. Members always get the bigger discounts. So thank you for all those who took advantage of that. I was going to try to have a new vector setup of like, you know, flirty floral graphics, but I wasn't able to get it. I was working on it and I just wasn't, it needed some more refinement. I didn't want to put out a product just to get it out and then have to fix it later, because that's no fun for any of us. So I'm going to work on it till it's ready, that and the Celtic Knot one, and I'll get it worked out pretty soon for everyone. Robert, you're very welcome. So I got that. Oh, gnarled up little hand there. Go the knuckle. There's the thumb. And the forearm, and here's the back of his arm going back into his body. Oh man, I appreciate that, Robert. Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back. Me and Donna have talked a little bit. We haven't nailed anything down, but I know we're going to do something soon. Yeah, definitely got to be doing something. All right. So let's talk about colors. What I mixed up. I mixed up a bunch. Let's go here. So I got opaque white. This is a transparent light blue. We got an illustration black. These are both, this is an opaque yellow and a transparent orange. These are all between Wick and illustration. I just mixed them up 10 minutes ago, so I don't have all the numbers and everything set up. We got a purple transparent, a blue transparent, and then I have a light brown, like a ochre, opaque, and then a transparent brown. So what I do a lot of times, when I'm doing my structural colors, I'll do everything in opaque, so like the white and the lighter brown. That'll build tone. The yellow, I'll get that down, and then I'll do all the detailing colors on top of it with transparents. That way I have more time to build. So I always mix opaques and transparents together. All right, let's see here. Let's bring up reference. Bring up that. All right. Now it's cutting time. So with a plotter, obviously you pre-cut everything, and then you can just pick and peel, stuff like that. This, I got to kind of determine what I'm going to do. So first things first, I'm going to do this skull, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it out just as if I plot, and I've said this a dozen times. When I design a plot file, I design it the same way as if I was going to cut it by hand. That way when I do plot something, or sometimes if I've done something by hand and went, ooh, that'll be a really cool project to do, I'll then go back in and vector it and use that for later, because the process is the same. That's why I laugh at people that say plotters and stuff like that is cheating, because it's really not. It's being smart and utilizing the tool the way you can utilize a tool. So look, I just pulled that out. I'm going to pull this little skull. Really simple. Honey, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, things like that. Keep this thing rolling. Alright, we're going to start with the illustration. Oh no, this is the Wicked Opaque White. It's been mixed, reduced, and strained. So look, I'm going to go in here, and you know what, I'll switch into top down. And look, I don't have to just white the whole thing. I could put like the teeth in. We can shade where that's going to be, and I can put the nose in. I'm going to reduce this more. I only reduce it like 5% to start, and then I can see how it reacts. I am so looking forward to getting the custom series. I was a big fan of them. I have a few already from before, and I'm looking forward to getting newer versions, because mine are probably 15, 20 years old. No, not that old, but they're pretty old. You know, because I have, this is the custom series when they did the custom CH, and I have a bunch of other custom eclipses. Most of those are down in the shop. I love them because when I'm doing motorcycles and cars and I have a lot of area to cover, I don't have to keep filling the airbrush. That's the biggest benefit to it. And I'm really stoked they did the double cutaway handle, because actually none of mine have the double cutaway. I have, you know, basically they did the custom series. They had the doubles, and then they did them again that didn't have the double handle. They just had the single cutaway. So I don't have any double cutaway handles, so I'm really looking forward to actually having one. So when they become available, I'll get one here for the channel for sure. I'll definitely order one up so we can do a review and work with it. But yeah, I'm stoked. So those just join in. Yeah, I just use regular vinyl transfer tape, nothing crazy. When I do stuff like this, that's all I use, just regular Conform series tape. I like the Conform, it's by Art Tape. So I just go in, I hit the core highlights of everything, and give it a nice little wash. That means the whole thing has coverage now. Let's see, we got some comments going on. Yeah, what do you think of the airbrushes? Tyler Kearns, what's going on? Alright, so let's do... You know what I want to do? I want to do... the nose. I hate when you pull a blade out and it's really not that sharp. I'm going to have to get another one because this one is bothering me. It is bothering me, sir. Lindsay, what's happening? I was saying earlier you missed it. I'm sorry I didn't get the files out last week. I really wanted to get the Floral and the Celtic one, and I was working on them, and they just need more work to get them right. So I'm going to release them. When I release them, I'll put them with the discount. So basically the Black Friday deal will still happen. I'll have those done before the holidays. So I'm going to do the nose. I'm going to get the orangey yellow in there right away. So basically I'm going to start with an opaque yellow. You could do white first, but I want to put a little texture. So this is opaque. And then we'll go in, I'm going to use some detail templates here. I'm going to put a little bit of texture in that carrot right off the get-go. And then I can dump that yellow. I want to do a quick, just squirt the bowl a little bit, get rid of the majority of that. Some orange. This, remember, so I did an opaque yellow, so that was coverage. And now I will do the orange. And we'll probably come back to it later, but and add some more highlighting. But I want to just get it structured in now. Oh, you know what I should do too? I should have done this with the yellow. Let's do the pipe. And this pipe can be rough. Remember, it's a corncob pipe, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I am going to actually go back to that yellow. But here's a little trick. Like, I don't need to rinse it. I'm going from a transparent orange. Just a quick wipe out. That little bit of remnants there. The opaque yellow is going to just kill it. So I'm not too worried about it. Same thing, I'm going to take that, you know, we'll just texture it. Right there. Look, I'm not even cutting a hole, I'm not going to bother, but I'll just, we'll have stuff coming out of it. I'll put the hole in later. Right now I'm just kind of blocking. That's all I'm doing is blocking the piece out. And just like a plotter piece, a lot of times I'll save these pieces as I go. And I can also do paper cuts because the paper lines up, so I can cut things later that fit in. Hey Marshall, what's going on? It's healed wrong, fuse in my knuckles. Oof. So sorry, man. So anyone on Facebook, for some reason the comments aren't staying. So if you make a comment and I don't respond, make it again. Because I have to touch the screen to get it to, for the comments to come back up. It hasn't done that in a while, so I don't know what the heck is going on. So we're good there, that's good enough. You know, this, like I said, this allows me to get that tone in there. Shoot, I might as well do this too, because it's going to be the same color family. And I can get all this blocking done now. We might have some fire and some smoke in the background of this. We'll see how far we get tonight, if we get too close to finishing it or not. This is one of those, sometimes I think they quick or they take longer, or vice versa. I sit there and go, ah, this will be forever, and it comes together quick. So we'll see. Sometimes you just don't know. And that's, we'll talk a little bit about pricing. You know, I get a lot of questions on that, like how do you price your work? And a lot of it's a best guesstimate. And remember, when you give a customer a quote, it is an estimate, not an invoice. And make sure you're clear on that. Say, you know, it's custom, it hasn't been done before, so it should be around this. And you kind of give a range. Say, oh, you know, that could be 400 to 800, depending on how long it takes. That way they get a realistic expectation. You know, somewhat. But if you say 400, they think it's 400. You can't come in with an 8 later. But what you do is you say it's between 4 and 8, you know, and you start putting it together. And if you start seeing that, oh man, this is going to be a lot more, that's the point you got to go in and talk to the customer and say, hey, to do this, it's probably going to be around this much. But I can keep it at your price, but we got to simplify things a little bit. Because it's custom. You don't have a magic ball. You don't know how long it's going to take. So, and always keep track of changes. A lot of customers love to start a job. That's one way, and then get grand ideas and changes. And then towards the end, they're like, well, we talked, the original price was X. And yeah, then you added this, and you added that, and you added this. And I told you it was going to be more money, and now it's going to take more time. And just keep everything documented, and, you know, because some of these projects go over 4 to 5 months, and people forget what they talked about. But they wanted this, and they wanted that change, and they wanted this. Well, those changes add up. No idea. No idea what to name them. You guys can name them. So now, you know, I'm going to dump that yellow. We're going to switch to the brown. This is an opaque, I think it's ochre. Oh yeah, I've had them. And it's really important. When I used to get, like, when I get like nighttime messages, like, oh, I think we should do this, I always reconfirm the next day in writing. Be like, hey, you know, we did this, and we talked about this, and oh yeah, let's do it. Get clarification. And when you do your invoices or estimates, or send change orders along the way, and have them sign off on it. And keep track of emails. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, you get it. Jason over on Facebook's been around as long as I have. And we've seen it. We've had the customers. They start out one way, and then they get ideas, and these ideas are great, but they think the ideas don't change the price. It's up to us as the businessman to actually tell them, you know. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, they still are shocked at the end. And then you have to remind them, remember we talked about this? And you changed your mind about this? And when I started, I used to just say, oh, the bike will be $2,000. Like, just blind. Like, it'll be $2,000 to do it. Worst way to price. You break it down. Be like, okay, priming and bodywork. Bodywork and priming is X. And you give them the range. You know, base coat, clear coat, sanding is this. That way they can see that stage. Okay, then you do your artwork time and any design time, and you break everything down. And if you can do that ahead of time, an estimate, you know, roughly, that's also good because they'll get a better kind of understanding. And they might say, oh, that's too much, and say, okay, well, what do you want to take away? Oh, I don't want to take away anything. Well, then we have to state this price. And a lot of times in that case, we're like, okay, yeah, I guess just do it. So these colors are just roughed. Cheese and grits, what's going on? Now I'm going to add a little bit more opaque white into this to kind of kick it over the edge a little bit more. You know, see, I'm just blending it. I'm going to freehand a lot of detail later. So I'm just kind of bringing in that underpainting tone right now. That's all I'm trying to do. Just kind of establish some stuff. I can tear stuff up. It's not that big of a deal. This stuff I'm not really going to save. So you can kind of get that core line work going. So they're going to make this a tree. Doesn't have to be, you know, it can be pretty sloppy at this point. You don't have to go fully rendered out at this point. It's just down and dirty quick. Maybe establish a little bit of graining. You could even take like a stencil like this. And look, I'm just going to add a little bit of stuff in it. Maybe you'll see it at the end, maybe you won't. Oh yeah, Lindsay, I've had to do it. We had one, the guy was settled on the design, loved it. The next morning, after I spent all night prepping the masking and getting it laid out and designed, because I waited for him to approve it, the next morning he's like, "Oh, hold the presses. I want to do this instead." I'm like, "Well, I already spent 5 hours last night doing what you wanted." "Oh, well, what do we do?" I said, "You got to pay for those 5 hours first, and then we'll move on to your next idea. Just because you changed your mind in the middle doesn't mean I don't get paid for my time." So it's all stuff you gotta. But that's the time you have to do it. You can't wait till the end of the job and say, "Oh, remember?" You got to do it as fast as you can. You don't necessarily have to give them the full price or make them pay that day, but you gotta just have a discussion so they understand, or at least you said it, you put it out there. All right, let's put this reference down. And we'll get the other side done. And then we'll bring in the white. The hat and the eyes are going to be black, so that's going to stay with the base color because it's a black panel. And we'll work all that in and go from there. Oh yeah, kids are coming up on break. I think Kaylee's done on the 8th and coming home. So should be done early next week, which I'm really looking forward to. And she'll be back. She was here for Thanksgiving. And when she went back, she got to finish finals, and she did a horse show the other day because she's jumping now, doing horse jumping show instead of just equitation show, which is what she used to do. And so now she's doing jumping, and she just did a show. That was her second show she did, and she placed second, which is awesome. Proud of her for that. A new discipline. And she's already rocking it, so it's good. It's been good. She's doing well. Getting her bearings, you know, first year of college, but she's doing good. She's doing really well. We'll see when we get her grades. You know, it's the first time as parents we can't look daily, you know, or weekly, which I think is better. You know, with the high school, you could look at their grades like almost every other day to see if they missed assignments, and it's almost too much. It doesn't give the kids a chance to kind of get it together. Or I would stress out because we'd see like a poor grade because it looks like they didn't turn in work, and it turned out the teacher wasn't good at updating their computer, so work that they turned in wasn't showing yet, and we as parents are going, you know, I thought you did this, and it says you did, and then we'd have the argument. She's like, I did, I turned it in, it must be the teacher. And sometimes you're like, yeah, that's an excuse, but it's a lot of times it's true. Alright, so see, I'm just doing finger by finger. And if you've done some of my plot files, you'll notice I'm doing it the same exact way. What's going on, man? Happy holidays. Just getting these blocked in. And like I said, this is illustration. No, this is the Wicked Opaque, like light brown or yellow ochre from GraFx. Gillespie. Yeah. What would cause crazing in the paint after I clear it? I waited 12 to 14 hours. Paint cleared it. Used GraFx illustration and Wicked UVLS. So the next day you used regular paint on top, or used the UVLS on top of dried. So you cleared it, and you cleared it with UVLS, and then 12 to 14 hours you went back in to do more. Usually it's a solvent reaction when that happens. So sometimes it's on solvent paint. It usually doesn't happen with GraFx very often. I've never had it happen. I've seen it happen. It's usually because whatever reducer, the catalyst is kind of reacting with the thin clear that might still have some moisture underneath it, and it's attacking it. So it's like softening the clear to bond, but it's drying too fast, and it's kind of crinkling the paint up like this. So a lot of times when that happens, you got to, on that second round, you got to do lighter coats, or the next day you scuff it, let it breathe a little bit longer, so anything that might be moist or still uncured doesn't react. It usually happens when you go too wet too fast on that second session. Solvents do the same thing. And usually crazing or wrinkling, alligator skinning is usually a result of the next day's paint is attacking what's underneath. So when that happens, layer your paint slow. Sometimes it could be the reducer. So if you're using, what reducer are you using? That can make the difference as well. You don't really have to sand the clear with water bases as much, but a little scuff isn't a bad idea. Yeah, 4011 shouldn't attack it. I was going to say, if you're using 4012, because some people are still using that can have some issues, but yeah, it was probably still curing underneath, depending on the weather and stuff, or how much you put down. So usually in cases like that, I'll start layering another round of UVLS or intercoat, and I'll do it slow with an air blower. And, you know, kind of help dry it along the way so it has less time to react. Alright. So I think we're good there. Yeah. I mean, it could have been the reducer reacting, but it's not like it's not a problem with the reducer. Sometimes when you use a Hunter reducer and it's attacking something underneath that's kind of thin, and basically it can't melt and then dry without kind of pulling things together. So usually it's because it's too wet too fast. I used to have it happen a lot when I would do a solvent job, and I would clear it with 2K clear. The next day I'd sand it, and then I start going over it with another round of base coat, and that clear would just start crazing. And what it was is the clear got too thin, and the new solvent was attacking that thin paint and softening it and then curing it, and it was shrinking it. So what you had to do was go slower and put the base coat on really slow, or less reducer in it, so it wasn't attacking it, trying to melt in as deep. Welcome to custom paint. I had a bout of it that happened, it kept happening. It was just how I was spraying. I was sanding too deep and not letting it cure, and yeah. Not bad for the first 45 minutes. We got a good amount of structure. Let's get this face knocked out. And when I do this, I'm just wiggling the blade through. See how I'm doing it? Because I don't want it to be like smooth lines. Like, so see here, I'm not going to bother cutting way down here, because that's just going to be done in paint. So I'm just really cutting the silhouette. I can airbrush this line in with like a shield or freehanded. So I don't need to cut that line. Because whenever you cut, you are going to see that cut a little bit in the metal if you cut too deep. Even if you're not cutting deep, you're still going to see it. Let's see what we got here. Shout out to you, Scott. You finally understood how difficult it is to live stream. Marshall, what were you doing now? What was your main issue? How long should I wait for you to let's cure? I've buffed it before, but I don't do it often. If I'm going to wet sand and buff something, I usually I use a 2K clear. But UVLS, from what I gather, I think it's at least 24 hours. But it might be a little bit more depending on the humidity level. I do have a cameo silhouette. Yep. So do you use the roll? I don't use the roll feeder. I don't cut big long vinyl with that. I use a flat plate with my silhouette. I usually don't do vinyl because I have a regular plotter. I use the silhouette for cutting hard stencils and paper. Oh, I just stabbed myself. Okay, when you say heat set, explain what you're doing. Because this is the problem that some people have. Explain to me your heat set process. I'm not sure if we talked about this before. I know I've talked about it with people. Yeah, never. You're not supposed to heat gun, heat set that paint. You, like Honey said, you could use a Revo, which is an infrared light. It dries it a little bit different, but if you use a heat gun or blow dryer on water-based paint, chances are you plasticize it because it basically cooks it. Old Createx Auto Air from back in the early 2000s recommended heat setting with a heat gun, which is where a lot of people got it from. That generation of paint was fine. The modern generation, even like solvents, you're not supposed to heat set it. Because what you do is you end up baking it and you overcook it and you plasticize it, then it skins. And then what happens is you plasticize it so it starts to lose its bond. And then when you put wet paint over the top of it, now it attacks it and actually wrinkles that paint because it's turned to fucking plastic. If you want to set it, get it to dry more thoroughly, just air, no heat. You can put a air blower over it, something like that. You'll be perfect with that. You do an air blower, you have no problem. And it'll actually dry the paint really well. Because that's all the paint needs is air. You can use slightly warm air, but not heat gun heat. Not even on low. Those heat guns are still too hot. A lot of guys with bake booths actually overbake too if they go too hot. Yeah, Steve's exactly right. Back in the early days of auto air, you needed the heat to make the crosslink activate because it would melt it would basically soften the layers and they'd kind of melt back together and plasticize them. But the new generation of water-based acrylics and stuff, don't do it. No matter what you read, because a lot of that stuff people read, and this has been happening on solvent-based pages in House of Color. You know, they're using videos from even myself or articles from myself, Craig Fraser, Mike LaValle, everything like that. And some of those videos are 20 years old. The technology's changed. Let's use this. Even my bake booth, I turn the heat on the booth, and the clear coats on. Sensitive. Urethanes like it a little bit better, but both paints love infrared heat more and air movement more than heat. Overheating, you're going to sacrifice something. I remember sitting with John Kosmowski, we talked about speed clears and speed paints, and he said, look, they all work great, but anytime you speed something up, you are sacrificing something. Either the paint becomes brittle, or it has to be softer. There's all certain things that could happen. So the best thing is normal air drying. especially when you're stacking a lot of clear like we do in custom. Because a lot of those tech books that say, oh, you bake at this degree, bake at that degree, that's fine for collision work, where you have like 1.5, 2 coats base, and you have a little bit, and then you have another coat or two of clear. It's all good. But you start doing it. I fought with a Spies heckler rep when we were doing one of my trucks. The shop I was working with was a Spies shop, and they were using their clear. I said, it's fine. I said, just don't bake it. And the rep was like, no, baking's better. This clear loves to be baked. This is what it's designed for. I said, yeah, that's what it's designed for when you put 1.5 to 2 coats down. I said, we've put 4 coats on, and then we've sanded it, and we put 4 more on, and then sanded it and 4 more. The paint doesn't like it at that point. It doesn't like to be baked. So low and slow, man. But when I heat set the UVLS, a solvent-based clears from HOK or wet, the solvent-based clear won't wrinkle the UV, as I learned that from Kosmowski. What you have to do is, it's not about heat setting. You don't heat set UVLS. Heat setting plasticize it. You can bake it in a slow, low bake. But if you overheat it, you plasticize it. What HOK and solvents will attack UVLS if it's still got moisture in it. So it has to be dry. Doesn't necessarily have to be baked. So baking is your issue you're having. You know, like when we did my truck, and it did solvent pop because they didn't listen to me. When we did another vehicle the same way. Instead of baking at 120 or 130, we just put the booth at 90 degrees for 20 minutes or 30 minutes instead of 120 for 15. Because that way it doesn't overheat the paint. The air movement and warm air is really good for paint. But speed drying it is not. So I want to make this guy look snowy. So I'm not just going to blast it white. I'm gonna put in like almost like snowy texturing to it, right? I'm gonna like do this tooth. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna keep everything soft though. I'm not doing hard texture, but I'm not just flooding it. But yeah, if you're like. I do a lot of water-based jobs, and I house the color clear over it. And the biggest thing is just make sure the water base is cured. It doesn't have to be forced. I just wait till the next day, usually. A little bit of, you can, like I said, you can heat it a little bit, or you can infrared it. You know, that short-wave infrared, like this, like Honey said, and C said with the Revo light, that's some of the best stuff. And that's awesome for solvent and water. But yeah, I've had length discussions with Dennis and Craig over Kratex about all that stuff, and nowhere in their tech manual does it say anymore to heat set the paint and overheat it. Back in the day it did. I remember talking with John about it too. And now it's definitely a lot different with the last gen, but not with the newer UVLS stuff. Yeah, the handheld Revo is supposed to be amazing. I don't have one. Steve's had one and used it on his show quite a bit. And if I remember right, Steve, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think you absolutely loved what it did and how fast it cured the paint. Like, cured it meaning you can sand it and it's dry. That's one thing you can test with water-based. If you can take a little 600 or 800 and sand it and get dry powder, it's dry. But a lot of times you'll sand it even the next day and it'll sand still a little gummy. That's because there's still moisture in it. But I remember, Steve, I think you did it a couple times on your live feed. It was like sandable dry in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I forget. Maybe it was faster. I don't want to speak for Steve. But if he's still here, he can... Oh, Gary Shees, we got a bid. Thank you, sir. Get a notepad. Actually, I gotta send some paintings out. I forgot to send... The Reaper's been done since before SEMA. I never sent it out. I gotta send you that. And honey, I have your bride to send out too. They're both done. Yeah, and that's what's good about infrared and shortwave infrared, and even regular infrared lamps instead of heat lamps is they'll cook from the substrate out, so they'll push all the solvents to the surface and out and cure it instead of skinning it. A lot of times those crazing reactions is because it's skinned over and it's still got a little moisture underneath, and that moisture gets reacted. So I'm just putting that in there. I'm kind of just doing like little circles, almost like scales. So just kind of set it up like that. Just so it has a cool, soft look. I'm trying not to get too much on the brown here. I don't have to worry too much. A little bit's fine because I'm going to freehand over, but this is just getting all the blocking in. So by utilizing the base coat, now I can take these off. These little coal buttons. And now they're there. I can just put a little highlight on them here. I like to catch them a little bit light. Then I can do a little secondary to make them look a little rough. And voila. Gary, thank you for the bid. Got my sound effects. Because I have the sound effects going through the soundboard now, so I don't actually hear them unless I have earphones in. So sometimes I forget. Alright, let's do the strap. So when you look at the hat, you kind of go back to basic airbrushing and what's on top and shapes and squares, and the side of the hat is basically cylindrical. So cylindrical shading. So I'm going to do. I could have left the strap like super black and put it last, but I want it to be. I might color it later, so we'll see. Frosty's evil side. That's right. So this like cylindrical like a cylindrical belt. We'll just get a little bit of reflection on there. We'll give it a little thread texture like that. And just give it a little mist. At the first hour, not too bad. Ah! My knife rolled all the way under. Oh, I reach around. Hold on. There we go. Let's try not to knock over my paint. Whew, sorry about that. Alright, so now... That's right. This Frosty was built by the bad kid in town. Like Sid from Toy Story. This is the one he built. That's kind of how I want to think of it. Little reflection. Bring that down. Same thing. We'll give it a little bit of cylindrical shading. Just get a little kind of texture to it. And it matches everything. Yeah, Steve, I was supposed to get... I forget his name, who we used to know who worked for him. One year at SEMA, he's like, oh yeah, I'll definitely get you one after SEMA, so you can use it on the show. And then I think I went to talk to him like a couple weeks later, and he had moved on to a different company. I was like, damn it! So I never got one. For the hat here, I'm going to give it like a hard reflection to one side, like almost like a record. Give it some tears. I should have done the tears first, actually, so they stayed whiter. So now I gotta brighten them up. Those will take a little bit of work, maybe a little paintbrushing. I know they're there. Now, it's one of those things, I could have left this hat for last. Maybe I should have. I could have the background first. And I think if I was doing this and not trying to get it done faster for the live feed, I probably would have done the hat last. Because I would have done all the background. So I'm just going to have to countermask when I get to that. Alright, for the brim, I'm going to highlight the edge. And I could use Pocket GraFx for some of it, or a template. I can kind of find an edge like this. What I'm going to do is just hit here, and that's going to give me the edge of the hat. Same thing here. And if you need a bigger one, you can just use any kind of long curve like that and get the edge of the hat. Now I have the eyes. So this guy reminds me, there was an old video game, like it was a Street Fighter type of game. And it was called Clay Fighter back in the day, and they had a Snowman character. That was kind of in my head when I started doing this one. I always thought he was really cool because he had all different snow attacks and he could morph into different shapes. So it was fun. Not too bad, not too shabby. Yeah, I think that works. All right. So now, let's take, you know what? I'm going to take the brown. I'm going to work a little bit on the piping and stuff. Yep. Yep, clay fighter. Yep. That was a fun game. So now I'm taking illustration brown, and we'll start carving in some of this. Oops. Let me see if I can zoom that out just a hair so we get it on that. Cool. Now I'm going to have to pull up my emulator and play Clay Fighter. I purposely didn't look, it was in my head, but I purposely didn't look at it when I was sketching this out because I didn't want it to be too derivative of that. Hate to tell you, but that was 30 years ago. Oh, I'm aware. And if I remember, I think I have it still. That was Super Nintendo it came out for? I think it was of that generation. So I know I had that, I had Killer Instinct. Does seem like yesterday, yep. Lots of stuff feels like yesterday. That's because we're old. So what's happened right now, it's not, my brush isn't spraying as good. Super released it in 93, Sega released it in 94. Good. Sega was when they did, oh no, that was still Genesis era or Saturn. Because Dreamcast wasn't until much later. So my spray isn't spraying as good. I keep skipping, and this happens a lot. A lot of times skipping, if it's not like air leakage out of here, it's your vent. My vent is plugged up from doing this and shaking, so there's no paint. So now there's no air coming into the bowl, so you got to clear that out. Now it'll spray much better, much more consistent. So my goal here, oh, I didn't put the, we have a little bit of tip dry going on too. A little bit of tip dry. That'll be a darker part of the broom. So what I'm going to do, I'll do these knuckles with the same color, But then I'll add black to it for the arms. I'll make it a darker tone than the broomstick. And this will have more yellow and white, and this will be a different brown. I don't want it to, I still want that kind of cartoony t-shirt look to this. So, thicker lines. Keep it cartoony, keep it fun, light. Because we'll be able to get some good color pop out of this. If I don't finish this one tonight, 100%, maybe what I'll do is what I did last week, and I'll do a wrap-up feed after Steve's feed on Monday. We can put a little extra texture in here. Pipe. When I get to the background, we'll have some smoke and stuff. And I was actually thinking of doing the background like an aurora. I thought that would be cool. So maybe I will push this till Monday and kind of figure out what I want to do in the background. I'll make this corncob pipe, so we'll put some indentations. Because what you could do, if I do a cool color background, then I can have some secondary lighting or some key lighting on his edges, like purples or blues or greens, and have that lit. It could be really, really cool. So I love doing these, kind of sketch it up before the show, because you can actually kind of see the wheels turn a little bit and how these are created. Because when we're doing work for customers, if we're on big deadlines, a lot of this stuff does happen on the fly. You give the customer a general idea, and then you have to just work it until it's right. Because you're not copying someone else's image, you're working it as you go. Sometimes you just don't have time to do a full render concept sketch to work from. You got to do it on the unit itself. Oh, Jose, this is one of the Iwatas. This is which one is this? This is the Takumi Eclipse. So this is basically, it's a side feed Eclipse. Similar to this one, which is a side feed Micron. But you can see the difference is, this is the Micron head assembly, needle assembly. This is a 0.18. And this is the 0.35. So it's an Eclipse in a smaller body. So this brush and this brush are identical as far as the head assembly forward. You know, it's just a much shorter, you can see the length difference. It's a shorter brush, shorter throw. But it's an Eclipse. It's just the Eclipse Takumi. And we're going to probably cartoon outline him as well. Maybe like the Pumpkin Reaper from before, is a similar hand, is we'll do a bright glow. This will get almost silhouetted, this hand. We'll do a bright glow behind it. It's cool. I can do this nice blend fade in here now. And we'll come through with a brighter, like an ochre, and highlight them, and then final black outlines, which would be cool. Yeah, we're going to leave him. We're not going to do brown in him. Let's punch that nose out a little more. You know, I was always a top feed guy forever, and I still love them for most things. But since I started using the side feeds more and more, and they came out of the Eclipse, I use the side feeds more than anything. But top or side doesn't change the action. It's more so the side feeds are a smaller body, so sometimes I like it better. But if I'm using a lot more paint, then I like the regular Eclipses, especially the customs. That's why I am stoked they got the customs coming out. Because when I'm doing like real fire on a car, I can paint forever with a custom because of that tall cup. Michael Cohen, thank you very much. Notice I'm still rocking the rotisserie. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I think it'll be more fun to kind of push it, because you guys saw the making of it, the initial structure. Then I can look at it and kind of figure out how to make it really cool. Calvin Jones. Thank you, sir. Let's celebrate the 3rd super on the live stream. That's new. That's cool. Alright, so I'm going to do this blue. This is, whoop. Yeah, it works great. I was actually thinking, because I started making, I'm going to have these available soon for everyone. You saw the desks I have, but I also got paint holders that I'm going to be making. This, if you have a brush, you can put a brush in here, but this will fit the Createx colors. It won't quite fit these because they're too close, but I was thinking of making a wooden version for more that fit these as well, because I love this idea. But these are going to be available soon with the portable desks as well. And yes, definitely like, subscribe, share. I need more people to get on this and join. And then definitely thank all my awesome members, all my gold skulls. The gold skulls are growing. I think we have more gold skull members than none, so that's really awesome. Thank you all for sticking with me. I think we're over 16 months of some of you guys, so that's amazing. Thank you so much. And that little link up top, in the top right, is the join. You can scan that QR, and that'll take you over. So with $3 a month, gets you 25% off my store. And if you were around last week for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that got you 40% off. So it pays to be a member, as the old saying goes. And if you want, you can find me on all my social medias. That's all my social medias, my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. I never use Twitch. TikTok, I don't use that much either, but I use the top 3 often. Why won't the key go off now? There we go. Weird. Huh. That is being very strange. Huh, my reference image won't go off. I guess we just have to put up those for right now. Odd. Anywho. Alright. So this is that light blue. I'm going to start getting a little bit... I want to get a little bit of blue in here. And it's going to be hard to see. Let's see if the top down views it better. This one might actually shut it off. So this is obviously on my Visionaire. I was trying different things. See you, Mike. So this is that light blue. We're just going to get a little bit of blue tone in here. That way I have some tone for the white to play off of later. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. So that bluish light will set up nice for like the purples and blue we're going to do off to the side. Because I really want to get that Nightmare Before Christmas panel like I did with the Jack Skellington. I want to get that nice kind of glow. So I think this is how I started that one before. But, you know, by watching these processes, you can really see how a lot of these projects really start out. So when I make a lesson plan, I usually paint the first one like this a lot of times, so it's more free. And then I'll turn it into a plot file / be able to duplicate it faster and easier. It saves a student a lot of time. They don't have to hand cut as much, but the process doesn't change. Yeah, it would look cool with black light paint. Yours looks awesome because I used the matte clear, the satin clear on yours, and it looks so cool. I don't have it close enough to be able to show you. I'll send you a message. I'm going to mail that out to you this week. Or first of the week, actually. I don't want to mail it out tomorrow because it'll sit all weekend. I don't trust the post office over the weekends. I don't trust the weekend help. But yeah, this would look cool with black light paint. I know. That's why I said it. So I'm back to that, what was it, bismuth yellow? Bismuth? Yeah. Love to mispronounce that one, or tongue tie myself with that one. Yeah, man. Ooh, skull face. Might be able to get that in there. I don't know. See if I can get that to work. So if we did like a nose here in that texture, and then this was the eye, and this was the other eye, we'd have a little skull face starting. Yeah, there you go, honey. Like a little shrunken head, yeah. Ask and you shall receive. Maybe we'll have a little smoke coming out of it that's got a skull in the smoke. I'm going to say the worst thing you can say when you're coming up with, when you're in the middle of a job and you try to get done, the worst thing you can say, it usually happens when you're drinking, is, you know, it would be cool. Some of the worst, best ideas come with that saying. You know, it'd be cool. As soon as that happens and you go for it, you just blew your timeline. It's usually from your drunk friends. Hey, you know it'd be cool if you did this. Yeah, that'd be cool, but it's going to take 4 hours. Yeah, but it'd be cool. It would be cool. Alright guys, it's 9:30. Instead of doing a full 2 hours right now, I think we're at a good structural point, which would be cool to set this up for the finish line on Monday. Let's do a Monday feed after Steve's at 8 o'clock. I don't think I have anything going on. I'll keep everyone posted, because I've just decided that now. I think I'm clear. I do have to just double check the schedule, but I think that'll be cool. So I will post it here and on Facebook on the definite. Gary's bid will stay in line for that as well. And we will come up with how to make the background cool. Raffin, what's going on? I don't want to be able to punch out these. I want to make this one look pretty cool. So this would just be a cool setup for next week. Please no misses? What am I missing? Missing something. Oh, Gerald, that is, at this point, I think, probably a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, what is it, the Smart Jet Pro. The one with the 2 regulators. The Smart Jet Pro. It's still a good little unit. It's pretty quiet. It's powerful enough. Yep, yeah. Or the Power Jet Pro. Maybe the Power Jet Pro. I forget which one was a high. Maybe it was. I forget which one, but it's the box one with the 2 regulators on it. I always wanted a Hammerhead, but I never bought one, and they don't make them anymore. They were so expensive, but they were awesome. In my shop, I have a big studio compressor. You know, a big shop compressor. Gerald, are you disappointed they didn't do the custom Micron and just the custom Eclipse? I was kind of hoping they released, you know, a few of, like both, like the custom Micron and the Eclipse. I'm happy they released it in general, but I was really hoping for the Micron as well. And I think that will be all she wrote for tonight. I think it was a pretty cool start from just a quick sketch like I showed earlier with the iPad, and you know, and to transfer it, cut it, paint all the base structure. Everything's blocked in. I'm happy with where it is. Now I can kind of sit back and look at it and play with some ideas for Monday. And I want to get some really good color pop into this, and maybe do like a really cool background bright color like an Aurora. I think I want to do blues and purples, and then have that light kind of key light around his edge or rim light him, and just get a good pop out of it. So remember, this is a black panel, so we're going to get a really good pop. And that's it, kids. Thanks for popping in. Oh, cool. You got Pop GraFx coming? Awesome, man. You're going to like it. It's a fun stencil set. Thank you, everyone, for popping in and hanging out. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Get this channel growing. If you can support the channel, do a membership. You'll get discounts off all the McKay Fine Art downloads, all the projects. And I got more downloads coming over the next couple weeks. And we will see you all, most likely, Monday night, 8 p.m. after Steve Leahy's feed. And see you all then. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for all the super chats, all the donations, the bids. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe. Be happy. Peace.